It's a joy to teach here at Calvin. It's a place with big vision and with students who come with big passions. And why we love not just equipping students for jobs they will have, but to be people that pay attention to how God is at work redeeming the world. Our vocation is much bigger than a job we will one day have. Our vocation is really our way of life and community, family members, community members, members of church, civic organizations, and it's bringing our whole selves to be agents of renewal in all those places.
My name is Maaike Mudde, and I'm studying psychology and social work. I'm passionate about community development, but I also don't think we have to think that hard about it. We think of community development in neighborhoods like this. What even is community development? We're all in communities. I'm someone who is in relationships, and that's my community, and I want the people around me to flourish. Ideally, I think I'd like to find that in my church, right? So my church, Madison at the Ford, hangs out here, prays, and is hoping to move in, renovate. What does it mean for the church to live into her calling? And I think that's community development. The mission is redemption. God is redeeming me, and God is redeeming this city, and God is redeeming systems. Redemption is so mysterious. God is doing the work, but somehow He uses us, and somehow we participate. Activists recognize that there's a spiritual core to the work of advocacy and community organizing. There's got to be a force that's deeper, that it is really the thing that's initiating this change. As a Reformed Christian, that's God. And so the work of community development, that might involve protests, silent demonstrations, but it also has to involve prayer, because that's when we listen to the God who is using us. I'm finding this inseparability between justice work and the church and the work of a pastor. I think prayer and protest has to go together. The church is not only a good space to do that, I think it's the right space to do that.
When we think about engaging with an aspect of God's creation or culture, we're not called to triumphalistically enter that place and bring all the answers that we have. But we are, on the other hand, not called merely to be present there in a disengaged kind of way. We're called to be attentive and alert to how God is at work healing, to have an eye for that, to walk in step with the Spirit, bringing that about.
My name is Michael David, and I'm a nursing major. I have a minor in psychology, and I grew up in New Delhi, India. There's a lot of medical doctors in India, but most of them are concerned with making money. But my mother's experience was completely the opposite. She went through medical school only to return back to the outskirts, the most vulnerable, not the medical centers in the city. My father works for a nonprofit Christian organization called Tear Fund. And then my younger sister is at Calvin here studying speech pathology. And then my older brother is a dentist and currently employed in a mission hospital in northern India. It's that mission to be, God's hands and feet, and to act justly, live wholeheartedly, walk humbly. That's like a mission statement in our family. So I had never heard of the Reformed Church before coming to Calvin. It was like a reinforcement of something you've already learned about growing up. Here's what's interesting. It's a concept that we've learned in nursing school, the power of presence. There's a big ministry just by being in a patient's room. I've seen the difference it makes in my own experience. I've been able to journey with patients, and I've had them come back before they leave the hospital and say thank you for making my experience so much better. We have so much technology, so many life-saving measures. We've got ventilators, we've got all the antibiotics and all the super drugs. And as healthcare practitioners, we forget that we're limited. We're not God. We're not here to save lives. We're here to make them better. For me, as a Christian nurse going out there, I know my calling is to be faithful, to make a patient feel comfortable, safe, and cared for. That's what I've learned at Calvin. I see myself going back and serve in the mission field. There's this pull that God calls me to be faithful to where I was, set up initially. It's giving back to a country that's given me so much.
Michael David.
It is so heartening to be a part of an institution that's extending its reach and healing touch in the Calvin Prison Initiative by providing education there And these wonderful expressions of gratitude that come from students in the program whose lives have been changed, the sense of dignity and purpose it gives. I think it is a powerful expression of Reformed Christianity for our students here at Calvin College to see themselves as fellow students with that program within the prison.
My name is Raymond Potts. I go by the name of Brother Potts. I'm a freshman with the Calvin Prison Initiative, and I'm a member of the 2020 graduating class. Made some mistakes in life that I regret tremendously. I can't take them back, and so I just choose to live forward. One of the things I love about the Calvin program is they've got a model of learning to think deeply, act justly, and live wholeheartedly in everything you do. If you look at what that concept says, that literally reflects everything that a person can do. And what's cool about it, when you're doing it for Christ, that can be done outside in the world, and it also can be done in a place like this. I've recently come to understand how a person develops a self-concept, realizing that primarily there are three things that foster a healthy self-concept, and that is belonging, worthiness, and a sense of competence. Any way that I can help guys develop healthy self-concept, I realize the power that that has for the choices that they make down the road. Relationships are necessary for healing as well. And so what I typically would do is I make it a point to just greet guys, and God bless you, Saint. Soldier, how you doing? But that one seed fosters the next step where we might sit down at a table and eat lunch together. And it's just strategic awareness and strategic activities that help promote those things that are necessary to build true relationships. We don't deserve it, we didn't earn it, and we certainly couldn't afford it, but it's a representation of just the benevolence of God. It's indescribable to really put into words the blessing that we have here. I've been locked up for 11 years now. I've got a long indeterminate sentence, and I can honestly say that I probably have more freedom now in prison than I did in the world.
One of the most beautiful verses in the New Testament is this promise that where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. That there is a more profound sense of freedom when we walk in step with the Spirit than in any other situation, context in our lives. And that freedom can be tasted within the prison or on the main campus or wherever our alumni go after graduation. The mission of Calvin College is to send people out of here with a wonderful sense of invitation rather than a sense of obligation. God is at work in the world bringing about healing, and we are invited for the joy set before us to be a part of that, knowing that God will use us in just the way God will to bring about that healing.